everyone, it's Jerry Caudill, the Yankee Creek Stitcher. I am back for Flosstube number 43. It is Saturday, May 8th of 2021. I first want to start out by wishing everyone out there a happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a fabulous day tomorrow or this weekend. Hopefully you can celebrate the whole weekend. I look forward to celebrating with my one daughter tomorrow. My daughter from Tennessee, she'll be coming up in a couple weeks, so look forward to that. But either way, it's great. It's a great blessing to be a mother, and I love my girls. And happy Mother's Day to my mom if she's watching this. Thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for the new subscribers and for my returning subscribers. I have lots to share with you today. I have done quite a bit of stitching with 24 hours of cross stitch and first week into Mania. So let's just jump right in. I did have one question come up. I've had it a few times, so I wanted to go over it with everyone. That people have asked how I count my stitches for Whip Go. My goal is 1,000 stitches on my projects that are drawn. And what I do, I use a app. It's called, I don't know if you can read it. It's called Counter. Let me maybe turn down that brightness there. It's called Counter. That's the name of it, Counter. So it's pink with the little like stopwatch. And what I love about this app is that this is the main screen. I think was intended for crochet and knitting, but it works great for cross stitch because this is the main screen where you touch and keep track of your stitches. But if you swipe over, this is the screen that you can load all kinds of projects on. So you see here I have 5 projects. They're all my Whip Go projects. And to add a new one, just hit the plus. But if I want to, if I start working on Halloween Quaker, I just click on Halloween Quaker. And once you touch it, it says that's the project. You swipe over, and so you can see for Halloween Quaker, I have 1,002 stitches in so far. So I'm going to start a new one just so I don't mess up my count for that. So I just hit the plus, and you rename it, and I name them, of course, of what the chart is called. New, and you hit save. So that's at the top. Swipe over, and that's the name of the project I'm working on. And what I do is I go through and stitch. You can either stitch a motif or you can count each line. It's whatever you're comfortable with, or whatever easiest is for you to remember what you've stitched. Because I'll give you an example here of, this is Quaker Christmas, and like this motif here, I can either just stitch that entire motif, or I can count as I finish each line. This motif, I think I just went across line by line and did my stitches. So it might be easier to show you one that's not highlighted yet. Like the star, for example. If I stitch that complete star, then I pull up my app, and it's easier to count because there's 4 stitches per spoke. So you just tap it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next line down is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the other side was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 4 spokes that are 3 stitches each. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that star right there had 28 stitches. And as a more complex motif, just take a piece of paper and put across the line, and as you're counting, you just tap your you just tap your screen. Now, if you accidentally hit too many, you have the minus, and it'll take those stitches back off. So it's very responsive, very quick, easy to count my stitches, and I love it because you can track per project. So whatever, which one I pull out, it's highlighted. I have 2051 in December. So that is how I track my stitches. And once I stitch that, like if I was doing the star, once I stitch it and I count it, I highlight it. That way I know it's done and it's counted. So that's all I do. Pretty easy, pretty simple, I think. It works really well for me. Okay, so that is that. So we're just going to jump right in. I have 2 FFOs. I'll start off with, because you can see my wall is dwindling down on my number of finished objects up there that needs to be finished. First is Halloween Eve by Blackbird Designs. Ecstatic with the way this turned out. This black piece was actually a board. You can't see it. I think I got it from Bass Pro Shop. It had a deer on there. It said, "Welcome to our neck of the woods," I think is what it said. So we weren't using it anymore. So I kind of scuffed it up and then put some black chalk paint and then just distressed it just ever so slightly. I kind of just dry brushed the black on there and then just scuffed the edges a little bit. And it was the perfect size for this stitch. I mean, you couldn't have found a more perfect piece for this. So I simply used, this was like foam core board that I wrapped with the homespun check. And this was the sticky board that I actually put the project on. And the sticky board, I first put a piece of quilt batting, and then behind or on top of the quilt batting, I used just a solid piece of black fabric, just so it looked more dark behind the stitched piece than light. So then I hot glued a piece of black fabric around that sticky board, and then I put the stitched piece on top. It already came with a hanger, so that will work out well. And I think it looks great the way it is, but something needs to go here, and like I don't know, a black metal piece, or I'm not sure what. I don't think a bow or something like that's appropriate, but when I come across something and I see it, I know it'll be right. I'll get it and put it on there. But other than that, I think it's great as it is. So that was FFO number 1. And FFO number 2 is my JBW Designs Antique Rooster Sampler. And this is a shutter from Hobby Lobby. And I'm pretty sure I bought this because I've had it for a year or two. After seeing Priscilla and Chelsea, they had used this. I don't remember what project it was for, but I went ahead and got one because I knew I would use it for something one day. And although it is, not as a normal shutters orientated, I thought this piece looked really good on this. I did, however, in case I ever find anything that this stitched piece would look better on, or something that would look really good on the shutter, it's just magneted on there. And, oops. So I've got magnets on this, and it just sticks right on there. Let me make sure I got it level again. But I thought the magnet worked out really well for this because I thought, it looks good on this, but if I ever come across something that, the roosters are going to look better on, or if I finish something that's going to look better on a shutter, this orientation always have the capability of taking that off and reusing the shutter or putting the piece on something else. So I debated doing that magnet and washer finish on Halloween Eve, but that piece is perfect for that board. So I thought, I just put a couple of lines of hot glue on there because that's just made for each other, I think. So that's my 2 FFOs. Super excited about that. And I think it's Saturday morning, so coming in here and getting things set up for my Flosstube, my creative juices have gotten flowing, and I have stitched so much the past 2 weeks, actually probably 3 weeks. I need to get in here, and I have several shipments of flosses that I need to get up onto my wall. There's a couple more finishes I want to get done on here. So I think this afternoon I'm going to work on some of these and getting some of my floss put in there. So from doing my FFOs, we'll go to 24 hours of cross stitch because that's going to show you some of my finishes. Okay, so 24 hours of cross stitch was the weekend of April 24th. And I was so excited to be able to participate in that. I did end up stitching a total of 17 and a half hours from Friday evening to Sunday evening. So it wasn't consecutive. I took breaks, slept. I'm not I couldn't do a 24-hour continuous, but I was super happy with the number of hours that I was able to participate. So we'll go through the projects that I stitched on. I started off with Trick or Treat Pumpkin by the Primitive Hare. I had been working on it, so I figured I would start my 24 hours of cross stitch off with that chart, and this is the chart. And I stitched about 5.5 hours on this guy. Made quite a bit of progress. I finished the black that's under his hat as shadow, and did lots. I think this part of it was stitched in orange, so I did all of this stitching in orange, and I did a little bit on the border there. So I was super thrilled with my progress on him. And I think I've decided I'm not going to stitch the words trick or treat. It is a jack-o'-lantern, and yes, it's more Halloween orientated, but this guy has a lot of stitching. So I'm kind of I'm not over stitching it. I'm ready to I'm ready to be done with it. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to, finish stitching him and finish this border, and it is going to be a good cutoff point on the border where these circles come down here and then they go across. I found a good cutoff point of the border where it will look, proportionate with leaving those words out. So I was thrilled with my progress on him. So hopefully with another maybe week of really focused, or possibly 2 weeks of being pretty focused, we can get him done. And he is stitched on 36 count grandpa sleeve from XJU Designs. It's the perfect fabric for this stitch. So after I got done, to a good stopping point and okay, I want to switch up some projects, I switched over to Little House Needleworks Autumn ABCs, and I got to finish. I stitched on this project for just under 8 hours for the 24 hours of cross stitch weekend. And my starting point for the 24 hours of cross stitch was I had a couple of these leaves stitched, and maybe down to K or L, probably K, because I stitched the rest of the leaves, the word leaves, and all of this from Saturday. Like, I worked on it for just under 8 hours, and then I was so close to having this finished that the week following, 24 hours of cross stitch, I thought, I'm so close on getting it finished. I'm going to focus on this, because I had a week from the 24 hours of cross stitch weekend to starting Mania. So that week I went ahead and focused to get this done, and I was thrilled. It's like, once you see that finish line, you just want to stay on it and get it done, get it knocked out. So it felt so good to stay focused on that and get it finished within just a couple of days. So I pretty much used the called for colors. I did change one of there was a pumpkin harvest or something, and it was a bright peachy color. I actually took that leaf was stitched in it. It just stood out. So I took that leaf out and restitched it with a little darker orange. So I'm thrilled with this. So now I just have to find a piece to finish this on. I love it. So I was thrilled to get some finishes with 24 hours of cross stitch. So then I switched to Betsy's stockings. I was really close to finishing. I had previously finished this stocking sometime last year or the year before. I had finished this stocking. This is stitched on 40. Yeah, this is a 40 count Confederate gray. And I was really close to, there's 3 stockings in this chart. This is by Plum Street Samplers. God, I don't have my project bag out here. I think I stuck it back in because I have 2 of the 3 finished. So I had all of this stitched, and I think I just had to do the outline of her dress and all the stars down here, and maybe these 2 here. So I was so close, I thought, I need to just finish that. So I stitched on her for just under 3 hours and was able to finish that, which I was super thrilled with, to get another finish for 24 hours of cross stitch. So yeah, these stockings are very tiny, just a couple of inches wide. So I just have the one other stocking to finish in this set. And it's a little less stitching probably than this one, so I should be able to knock it out in just a week or so. So I'm hoping to have that up for the summer. So yeah, Plum Street Samplers, Betsy's stockings. Finish number 2. And then after that, I had spoke on my previous Flosstube about Miss Baxter's house and the not liking the flower border, and that I talked a lot about ripping out some stitches. So Sunday evening, the last hour that I worked on cross stitch project for 24 hours of cross stitch, I actually went through and ripped out those flowers. Actually went pretty quick, so I was thrilled with that. But then I had to stitch a red flower in there just to see. I was just so excited to get one in there to see how it was going to look, and oh my goodness, love it. Absolutely love it. It's just going to bring it all together and look so good. I had mentioned Cynthia Brew because she had done her flowers in red, and she messaged me a couple days after I posted that video and reminded me that she didn't go back and rip her stitches out. She actually did, I think she did like a half stitch with her red, just kind of made it faded. She didn't rip her flowers out. it just kind of faded just doing a half stitch of the red over the pink. And I had forgotten she had mentioned that on her Flosstube. It's been several months since she had finished that, but hers did look great. But I told her thanks for the reminder, but I've already ripped those suckers out. And I'm thrilled with the way it looks. Really happy with that. So I think it's just going to pop and look so good. And Miss Baxter's house was drawn, because I think my last Flosstube Whip-Go numbers had not been drawn yet. So my Whip-Go numbers that were drawn for May, which I'm not, unless I get burnt out on one of them, I'm not going to be stitching my May Whip-Go until June. So I'll have lots of Whip-Go stitching in June. But the projects that were drawn for May Whip-Go was Miss Baxter's house and Prairie Schoolers Christmas Village. So I'll get 1,000 stitches in each of those for May. Okay, so that was my 24 hours of cross stitch projects, and I was super thrilled with how much I was actually able to get done. So yeah, from 24 hours to cross stitch that week, I finished those projects, and so that following Saturday was kicked off Mania. And I had mentioned in my last Flosstube, on the weekends I was going to have a new start, and during the week I was going to focus on one of the 4 or 5, I think it was 4 whips that I had pulled that I was going to concentrate on. So Saturday, May 1st, there was a Blackbird Designs stitch along by Brenda and the Cereal Starter. They had mentioned it, and they had gotten the idea from someone else they had mentioned. I don't remember who that was, but lots of stitching on Blackbird Designs that weekend. And one of the designs I had pulled out for a new start was from the Souvenirs of Summer book, the Summer Jubilee chart. Lots of starts on that this weekend, or last weekend. And so I thought, might as well make that my first May start. So I did. And, excuse me, I loved stitching on this fabric. I'm stitching on 36 count 18th century Blackbird, which was the call for fabric. And I absolutely love stitching on this fabric. It is, I mean, my stitches were perfect. Not to be bragging, but it feels so, when you get a fabric and you're stitching and it's like, oh man, that looks so good. I just love stitching on that. And it doesn't look like a lot of progress, but it's quite a bit of stitching for me anyway for the weekend. But I absolutely loved it. I pretty much had all of the called for flosses except 3. So I was thrilled with that. But just love how this is turning out. Love those colors. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I loved stitching on it so much that I had picked out 4 projects to have as possible starts. And I did say possible starts because as this weekend was drawing closer, I'm like, which project do I want to start, for this weekend? And nothing's like really nagging at me of pick me. And I really wasn't in the mood to pull flosses and cut fabric. I'm getting that way today. So like for the Prairie Schooler Halloween series, I think is what I want to get everything prepped to maybe start next weekend. Because this weekend, I'm going to continue stitching on Summer Jubilee because I really love it. And just the thought of having 4 new starts to a whip count that I'm trying to get down anyway, it's like, let's focus on this and make as much progress as I can on this. So if I'm still feeling that way, I might just have this my weekend stitch for the month of May instead of having 4 new starts. So we'll see how I'm feeling next weekend. But this weekend, I will continue stitching on this, and Today, like I said, I think I'm going to be in my studio, and I'm probably going to cut out the fabric for each of the charts in that Halloween series. That way all the fabric's cut out. And the floss I've used for that still on bobbins, so I want to get those on floss tags. So I'm just going to do that kind of stuff, you know, kind of like some housekeeping stuff on projects, and that may be a start for next weekend. But for this weekend, I'm going to stay on Summer Jubilee. I really enjoy stitching on it and want to see a lot more progress. So that's my Mania plans for my weekends. So the whip that I focused on from Monday, May 3rd, and all this week, I chose to start with my whip Cinnamon Stars from Plum Street Samplers. This chart was very popular the past couple years, and lots of people have stitched it and finished it. So I had started it April 20th of 2019. It was one of my early Stitch Mania starts. And I'm thrilled with my progress for the week. So if you remember, I showed you my whips last Flosstube, and all I had stitched on this was 6 fence posts. The fence posts down here, I had 6 of those fence posts stitched with the railing is all I had. So this week I have put in anything and everything with color. The house, the couple of stars, the corn, the scarecrow, the pumpkins that are there. I have loved stitching on this. And this is being stitched on 36 count macchiato from Luminous Fiber Arts. Love this fabric. It is just stitching up beautifully. I have loved working on this week. And I've made so much progress. And it's such a beautiful chart. Beautiful colors. I've really loved stitching on this week. I hate to put it down, but I have my other whips that I want to put some stitches into and get them further along as well. So I'm excited to see what I pick up in June. I know I'm going to have lots of whip go stitches. So, and that's pretty much all my whips and starts and FFOs and finishes. So going forward, I'm not sure which whip I'm going to start working on Monday. I'm going to look through them and see where I'm at on each one and determine, you know, I'm really excited about my finishes. So I'm kind of, let's see which one's closest to a finish to focus on it for next week. But after that, I'm going to have May and June whip go pieces that, of course, I want to make progress on as well. And then July, I really think I want to do a Christmas in July focus. And I have a series that I want to start that I've had for a very long time. Probably it was one of the first series I purchased when I got back into cross stitch because it was very popular back then. So I have fabric on the way. It actually should be delivering today for that. So I'm super excited about that. So that's another thing I want to work on today is pull flosses for that entire series. Actually, there's a series and then an entire chart that has several pieces in it. So I want to work on, once I get that fabric today, to get it cut out. I'm hoping it's going to be enough for all the pieces because it'll be their ornament size. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, I think June is going to be a lot of whip go catching up, and probably depending on the progress I've made on my whips for the month of May, with my whip go pieces, and then focus on some of these ones that I've made a lot of progress on this month to get them wrapped up with a finish. So then I'll feel pretty good about starting some ornaments in July, which are smaller ornaments, because these aren't huge projects I'm working on now, but they're larger than just ornaments. I haven't really worked on a lot of small ornaments, a lot of small pieces. And if you watch Michelle McGraw, oh my gosh, watching her do all her little finishes has been so inspiring and motivational. It's like, I need to get out smaller pieces and get focused on them, because I have a ton. I go through my charts and look at all my charts and like, oh my gosh, I forgot I have this, and oh my gosh, I want to get that done too. And it's small pieces that you can get knocked out really quick. So if you haven't checked Michelle out, go check her out. She's finished an amazing number and have FFO'd them into pillows and things, and it's so cool. Beautiful finishes that she's put together. So check her out. So I think that's all I have, all my stitching and what I think I'm going to be working on the next couple of months. So depending on how much progress I make this week, I may be back next weekend. If not, I'll probably do an end of May to catch up on all of my Mania progress. So I hope if you're participating in Mania that you're having lots of success and lots of stitching time to enjoy that. I'm watching other people's progress on their starts and their whips. So exciting, so motivational. Once again, happy Mother's Day. I hope you have an awesome weekend, and I will catch up again with you very soon. Take care.